Okay, so let's take a look at some basic algebra ideas. And algebra is kind of a stressful thing for students because all of a sudden you start seeing things like letters, like n's, or you see things like 8x minus 3y, or something like 12 r squared. And we now have letters mixed in with the numbers. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at how to evaluate these using values for that variable. So let's say for the first example, I have 7n, and I'm given that n is equal to 4. What that tells me is that instead of the n, I'm going to put 4. So I have 7 times 4, and that gives me 28. Okay, so let's try to evaluate. So I'll just put it here. 7n is equal to 28 if n is equal to 4. Now in this example, I have an x and a y value. Okay, so I'm going to give x a value of 2, and let's give y a value of -1. So we're going to take the 2 and put it in for the x. So I have 8 times 2. I'm going to take the -1 and put it in for the y. Take away 3 times -1. Okay. So simply put in the x into the x position, put the y value into the y position, and then we're going to compute. 8 times 2 gives me 16. I have a -3 times the -1, and that will give me a +3. 16 plus 3 gives me a 19. Okay, so if we're going to evaluate these guys. All right, so we did this top one here. We did this bottom one, well, the middle one here. Now let's look at the bottom one. I'm going to do two different R values. The first R value is going to be, let's do a positive 2. Okay, so I've got well, I'll do it over here. 12. Then I have a +2, and I'm going to square it. So I have 12 times, my 2 squared is 4, because 2 squared is 2 times 2. 12 times 4 is 48. Let's put a negative value in there. Let's try r is equal to a -1. Okay, so this time, instead of a 2, I'm going to put a -1. I'm going to square it. 12 times -1. Well, actually, hold on. Let's put that -1 to the second power. I should have done my order of operations properly. So -1 squared, -1 times -1 is +1. I'm going to times it by 12. 12 times 1, I get a +12. So when you're given these expressions, we call them expressions because there's no equal sign. Okay, so these are called expressions. And you're often asked to evaluate expressions. And you're asked to evaluate them, and they will give you a value or values, like this one here at 2, x and y, that you are going to plug in and find an answer for. This is a harder example. It's a little more complicated. We've got a term here, a term here, then we're adding, okay, a term here. We have an m value and an n value, so let's put them in. For every m, I'm going to put 10. For every n, I'm going to put a 3. So 10 minus 3. Then I have 3 times 10 plus n squared, which will be 3 squared, plus 5 times m, which is 10, times n, which is 3. So let's take a look at this guy. Order of operations, we do parentheses first, then we do exponents, okay? We do multiply, divide, and then add, subtract. So this is the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally sentence, if you remember that. So I'm going to kind of focus inside my parentheses first, and I'm going to work from left to right. So 10 minus 3, that gives me 7 in here. Then in here, I've got a few things going on. I've got 3 times 10, and I've got 3 to the second, which is 9. And then over here, I've got 5 times 10, which is 50, times 3, which is 150. Okay, so I've got 7, then I've got times 39, then I've got add, and then I've got 150. Okay, so still go from left to right here. So multiply before we add. Okay, 7 times 39, we get 273. Then I'm going to add 150. So 273 plus 150, and my final answer is 423. But again, just kind of going back to the beginning of this problem. When you are given an algebraic expression and you need to put values in, look at the letter, look at the variable, and the variable is going to be replaced by a number. So you go through, and every variable, in this case it's an m, every m is going to become a 10. That's a 10, this is a 10, okay, and here's a 10 over here. And then every n becomes a 3, and that's where this n, and then this n squared, and then this n comes in. So once that is in place, then you can go to your order of operations, focus inside your parentheses, okay? And from inside your parentheses, simplify that as much as you can. That's how we got the 7, and then we got the 39. Over here we got the 150, and then we multiplied the 7 and the 39 together to get 273, plus the 150 to get 423. We'll do one more. Okay, so this problem here is giving us 3 different variables, okay? So x is 1, y's are -3s, and z's are 4s. So here's my first parentheses and my second parentheses, just like this, okay? X's are 1, so I have 1, take away 5 times x, which is 1, times y, which is -3. Then I have 7 plus y, which is -3, times z, which is 4. Okay, so let's take a look at this guy. Inside this parentheses here, I have 1 take away 5, but don't do that. Because remember, we do parentheses, then we do exponents, then we do multiply, divide first before we do add, subtract. So don't do 1 minus 5. First, try -5 times 1. That's -5 times -3. That's +15. So I have 1, and then these numbers here multiply to get me a +15. Now in my second parentheses, I have that same issue. I've got this add here. Don't do it. Multiply first, and then you're going to add. So -3 times 4 is a -12. So I have a 7 plus a -12. And now I can add these guys together. Okay, I've done my parentheses, exponents, my multiply, division. So now I'm adding. I get 16. I can add here, and I get -5. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply my 16 and my 5. And 16 times -5 will give me an 80, but it's negative. 16 times 5 is 80. Positive times negative is negative. Okay, here is our last one, and we are looking at A's, B's, and C's. We've got 3 variables to look at. I have a parentheses here that I'm going to be adding. Let me just make sure I've got my marker. All right, we've got our first parentheses here that we're going to be adding. Then we have this second parentheses that we're going to be adding. Then we have 2 onto our third parentheses that we're going to be adding. All right, I want to put the first one in. It's an A minus B times C. A is -5 minus B is 3 times C is 6. All right, 4 times AB is going to be 4 times A, which is -5, B, which is 3, plus 3 times B, which is 3, C, which is 6. Then I have 2 onto B squared. B is 3 squared, minus A, which is -5. And then I'm going to have to fit this in here, a C. Let me erase this guy and give myself a little more room. Let me just put this back in. I'll try that one more time. My A is -5 and my C is 6. Okay, so now we're putting this all in a parentheses. Okay, so again, do not subtract first, multiply first. So -5 minus 18. Add. Okay, multiply these all together. 4 times 5 is 20. And I have a negative, so positive times a negative makes it -20 times 3 is -60. Okay, I'm going to add. 3 times 3 is 9 times 6 is 54. Okay, then I have a 2 on the outside. I'm going to do my exponents here. 3 squared is 9. Do not subtract yet. Do multiply that -5 times the 6, and I get a -30. All right. So now let's simplify. I've got -5, and then I need to go down another 18. All right, so I'm now in the hole at 23. This bubble here, I'm in the hole 60, and someone gives me $54. Okay, so I'm in the hole 60, someone gives me 54. Find the difference. The difference is 6. The 60 is negative. It's the bigger one, so the negative will win. Okay, I've got a -6 in this parentheses. I'm going to keep my 2 outside here. Minus and minus is a plus, so it's going to be 9 plus 30. Okay, that's a trick. Negative, negative. Make that a nice big plus. Tell yourself, add, add, add. All right, -23. I'll rewrite it. I'm going to go down 6. Okay, now I still have this 2 out front. First, add the 9 and the 30. So I've got 39. And then let's multiply that again. I've got -23. I've got add -6. Okay, then I've got 39 times 2. Okay, so that's going to give me a plus 78. Alrighty, so we can simply combine all of these guys together. Okay, so -23 plus -6. So that means I'm going down to -29. Okay, then I'm going to add 78. Okay, so -29 plus 78. If you want, let me just do this here. -29 plus 78. They're opposite signs. The difference between 29 and 78 is 49. 78 is positive. It's bigger. So the positive is going to win. So my final answer after all of this is done and I'm evaluated, my final answer will be 49.